This reflection is based on John chapter 10, verses 1 to 10. We often see this as the sheep and shepherd chapter. But we need to realise that it follows on the story where Jesus healed a man who was born blind and gave him his sight. Now, we'd think that people would be absolutely overjoyed, but the religious leaders were very angry. And they were very angry because Jesus had done this on the Sabbath day, and according to their own man-made rules, that was work on, you shouldn't do it on the Sabbath. And the other reason they got angry was they're getting threatened by Jesus because people were following him in quite large crowds and they were sort of losing their power and their authority. So they had Jesus declared as a sinner, certainly not from God, and they also prohibited the man from worshipping in the synagogue. And instead of caring for him, which was their duty, they actually punished him. And so this is when Jesus goes on with this picture of sheep and shepherds. Now back then, there weren't fenced paddocks for sheep. The sheep couldn't really use the good grassland because it was so scarce that was needed for crop growing. So they would be out in very sparse areas. And that way they would need someone to be with them. They couldn't fence them in, so this person would be leading them around, watching over them, protecting them in case a wild animal came to get one of them. And so just a small mob of sheep. This meant that the shepherd would get to know his sheep, know their characteristics, but also the sheep would get to know the shepherd's voice. And at night, they would take their sheep, and to protect them, they'd build a fold, which would probably be made of stone, and just walls, stone walls, and no roof, but on top of the walls they'd put thorns or briars and something very prickly to prevent any animals or any people trying to come in and steal the sheep. In a large area, there'd probably be a few different flocks put in the one fold at night. And then there'd be a gatekeeper, and his job was to watch over them at night. In the morning then, the shepherd would come for his sheep, and he didn't have to recognise his sheep, he just had to call because the sheep knew his voice and they would follow him. This is a picture Jesus used to explain to the religious leaders that he was the true shepherd. They didn't seem to get what he was saying, so he put it a bit more plainly. He said, I am the gate to the fold. Those who come before me, he said, they're thieves and robbers. That's referring to those religious leaders who, instead of caring for the people, were more interested in their made-up rules and their own power. The fold was a place of safety. It's safety for the sheep. And Jesus is saying the only way in or out was through the door, and he said, I am that door. In other words, he was the only way for people to find safety and shelter. Now, it is an exclusive claim. It doesn't go down well in today's society, which wants to say, look, choose your way. There's lots of ways to God. But Jesus lays it down quite clearly. There is no other way. The image of thieves trying to get in by climbing the walls is an image of people trying to get into the kingdom by circumventing Jesus, going around him some other way. It just doesn't work. There is no other way. When Jesus was preparing his disciples for his coming death, he said to them, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. And that's a very definitive statement. But the picture of the sheep and sheepfold isn't just one of safety. Verse 9, he says this, I am the gate. Whoever enters through will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. That picture of coming and going and finding pasture is a picture of freedom. Living as a follower of Jesus means that we can find freedom from having to carry guilt with us. It gives us a life that can find joy when things aren't going all that well. We can find hope when others feel everything's falling apart. We can find a love that is even better than the best human love that we know. And Jesus said, I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. It's only in Jesus that we will find true purpose and fulfillment in our life.
my shepherd, I'll not want. He makes me lie in pastures green. He leads me by the still waters. His goodness restores my soul, and I will trust in you alone, for your endless mercy follows me, your goodness